Fixed rate contracts or hourly contracts. My name's Gavin. I run an email and SMS marketing agency, and at the time of recording, I've generated about $140,000 US on Upwork. And my experience with negotiating whether I want to approach a contract from an hourly perspective with a client or a fixed rate perspective, it's changed a bunch. So I'm gonna caveat all this with what it looks like from a client experience when you're pitching hourly and when you're pitching fixed rate, at least for me when I'm hiring personally. So when I'm looking at bringing on somebody hourly, I have the benefit of not paying a bunch of money up front. But I also have the lack of security in that I don't know how many hours this person's gonna bill. So I'm both benefiting as a client by not putting a bunch of money up front, but I'm also potentially losing by not having the guarantee of there might be some flex in this project, it might cost more, and I don't necessarily trust this individual to spend all the time that they're saying they're spending on this project. That's my considerations from a client perspective, at least for me as a business owner who's hired on Upwork. The other side of it is, as a fixed rate contract, I get nervous because I'm putting a bunch of money up front. Typical fixed rate contracts involve 50% up front, 50% upon completion. So while I'm not losing out on knowing if this person's spending their hours properly, I am losing out on cash flow from a customer perspective. I do also, though, get the guarantee that the project will be done within a certain time frame with certain deliverables, and the cost is not gonna blow out or change unexpectedly. So those are the considerations. And as a freelancer or an agency owner on Upwork, you need to consider those when you're pitching. Here's the benefits from a freelancer perspective when I'm selling hourly. The benefit one is that it's typically easier for me to close a client because they have the risks of, rather the lack of risk of putting a bunch of money up front. But there's also the added burden of A, having to manually manage my time, and B, cash flow. I'm not collecting a whole bunch of money up front to help grow my business in other ways. The fixed rate, on the other hand, is great because I collect a bunch of money, but typically I'm discounting. And I'll tell you why you discount. I prefer fixed rate contracts. From a business perspective, it allows me to manage my cash flow better. I'm able to collect money up front. I'm able to take, let's say, 50% of a $3,000 contract, take that money up front, and then allocate it to other parts of my business to grow, i.e. marketing, advertising, YouTube video productions, tax, paying my staff, all sorts of stuff. Whereas with the hourly, I'm not able to do that. But I also am having to navigate the difficulties of like saying to the client, hey, this is gonna cost you more than it would be hourly. How I negotiate that though, and there is a reason that we go fixed rate from an algorithmic perspective, which I'll explain in a second, but how I negotiate the pitch for the client, whereby I say, hey, instead of doing hourly, I recommend going fixed rate, and I recommend you do that, by the way, is I say this contract here is gonna take me 70 hours to complete, which is roughly, at my current rate on Upwork, is $60 an hour. Note, off of Upwork, it's about $250 an hour, because I'm also charging for my team. At $60 an hour, you're looking at $4,200 spread across 3-4 weeks. However, if you wanted, we could do this in a way that benefits both of us by saying, instead of doing the hourly contract and the total value being $4,200, let's do a fixed rate contract, where instead of $4,200, I'm gonna discount it to $3,000, and let's do 50% up front and 50% upon completion. Typically that pitch right there, A, helps me close clients in a quicker way, and B, helps me collect a lot more cash up front. Also, I might be wrong here, but I think the algorithm, or rather the Upwork algorithm, wants you to collect more cash quicker because they get a cut of any of the money that you generate. They get 10%. So I think from an algorithmic perspective, Upwork is looking at that and saying, hey, if you can make us more money, we'll reward you by getting you in front of more clients to make us even more money. That's why I go for the fixed rate contract. Also, fixed rate contracts are much easier to scale than hourly contracts on Upwork. And here's why. If you're a freelancer and you're doing hourly, you need to log your hours within Upwork's platform. And if you're doing, say, 3-4 clients that require a lot of hours, you're eventually gonna, believe it or not, run out of space to log hours in your Upwork profile. What you can do to combat that is go for the fixed rate contracts, which allow you to take on more work and actually start productizing and systemizing your business, which allows you to scale. That's incredibly important. Building systems and building a productized offer is essential if you're trying to grow from either a freelancer to an agency or just trying to grow your agency. Personally, I prefer fixed rate, not hourly. I will say though, when I first started on Upwork, I always went hourly because I was trying to build up my profile and my hourly rate was incredibly low. So I would tell people, because when you go on Upwork and you first start, you need to play with the algorithm and prove that you're actually good at your job, so you can't charge your true hourly rate. I was charging 10 bucks an hour when I started on Upwork just to build up my social proof. And that low rate for the quality of service that I was delivering, it was so easy to sell clients on a hourly contract as opposed to a fixed rate. It just made sense at that point. But as I grew, I will say, the clients who say, hey, we just want to go hourly, don't be upset about it and don't let that be a deal breaker for you, because some of the biggest clients I've had on Upwork have been through hourly. It's just a pain in the ass because you have to track your own hours and you have to track your team's hours and bill all for that as well. To grow your business, you're eventually gonna have to go to fixed rate. It's just kind of how it works. Currently, we have 35 different clients under management, and I would say about 10 to 12 of them are on Upwork. If I was billing hourly, I would literally run out of time on Upwork to bill those hours. So go for fixed rate. That's just my opinion, at least. Take everything I say with a grain of salt. I'm not actually that smart. If you like this channel, subscribe. I make these videos just to document my journey, share what I'm doing, provide some tips. If you have any questions, comment down below. I respond to anything and everything you guys say, even the hate, do it. And subscribe to the newsletter. There's a link in the description as well. And if you want to learn about email marketing, there's a link in the description as well to my other channel. Without wasting any more of your time, thanks for watching. 3 videos every week. We'll see you in the next one.